I hope you're ready for a good, long video. I'm wearing one of my Goodwill blouses. Can you see the little design here on the front? It's a very soft jersey. Feels really good on. So anyway, this is one of the, you saw the other striped one, now you've seen the red one. I've got two more. I'll show you in another video. Someone asked me if I ever did any sewing. Well, as a matter of fact, I did. Actually, I started sewing when I was a child. Mama had the old treadle sewing machine, the Singer, you know, that all the old folks had, and she taught me how to sew on that machine. I remember her telling me how she got the sewing machine. She had always made my sister's clothes. They were all older than I, and back in those days, you could make dresses out of feed sack, some quite pretty dresses for that matter. So Mama had always sewed by hand. Now, if you sew at all, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say by hand. I mean needle and thread. Every seam is sewed with a needle and thread. Now, how long can it take to make a little girl's dress? Okay, she'd been downtown and saw a sewing machine in the window. It was a treadle sewing machine. They didn't have the electric one then. And she said, it was a used sewing machine. She came home and she told Daddy, she said, there's a sewing machine downtown. It's a good price. It's sitting in the window of whatever store it was. And I sure would like to have it. Would you go down and get it? Well, Daddy at that time drove a pickup truck for his work. He went downtown, he came back, and she was really anxious. She couldn't wait to get that sewing machine so she wouldn't have to do all of the work by hand. And she was standing on the front porch waiting for him to pull up in the truck. And when he did, she got the surprise of her life. Daddy had gone down and he bought her a new sewing machine, brand new, not the used one. So that sewing machine still in the family somewhere. I didn't get it, but that's okay. I was the only girl in the family that did learn to sew. But I don't mind that someone else in the family has the sewing machine as long as it stays in the family. Now, we're going to move on ahead to me learning to sew. I took home economics in high school, and that was the biggest waste of time ever was. I was going to be a good seamstress is what it amounted to. I was going to take home economics and learn how to really sew. It didn't work that way. All I can say is the teacher wasn't interested in the students. And I lost interest, and I said, no, I'll never learn to sew. But I did learn to sew. Mama taught me. In fact, I made my own wedding dress. I was 18 years old, just out of high school. And it was not one of those pretty satin, brocade, lacy wedding dress. It was a street length dress with empire waistline, had 8 gores, zipper up the back, you know. Mama said to me, she said, the zippers have always been my biggest problem. Well, I was really dreading that, having to put that long zipper up the back of my dress. And we had a closed-in back porch. It was summertime, and I would sew on the back porch on her treadle sewing machine. And Actually, the zipper came out perfect. So, my major sewing skills began right then and there with my own wedding dress. Now, as time went by, when I got married, I was living in Louisville. My husband was going to school. He was taking night classes at the University of Louisville, and I didn't have anything to do. I hadn't found a job yet, so I wanted a sewing machine so I could sew. We went downtown and we found one. Now, I'm going to show you what I bought. It was on the monthly payment plan, $10 a month. We didn't have any money. Paying $10 a month on the sewing machine. It cost $150. Now, I'm going to show you. I've still got that sewing machine. Love it. Here's what they call the Featherweight sewing machine. You've all seen it. This is mine. You're looking at the back side of it. I need to turn it around so you can see the front side. It's heavy. Take a good look. This is the Featherweight Singer sewing machine I've had for 69 years. Now, remember the time, well, first I want to tell you, after I got the sewing machine, oh my gosh, I was going to be able to make dresses for myself. And my husband said, I wish you'd make me a pair of pajamas. Well, anybody that sews knows that when you get into making men's shirts and things like that, calls for the French seams. You got double seams everywhere down the front. And in fact, I could go to JCPenney and buy him a pair of long sleeve pajamas cheaper than the fabric cost me to make a pair. I'd never made men's pajamas. I got out of that one. But I did start making my own clothes. Now, I did a lot of sewing. I made dust ruffles, I made curtains, I made pillows, things for my house as well as things to wear. And I did the best I could, but this was the Singer sewing machine that I was using. And I finally reached the point they had new sewing machine that would zigzag, go forward, go backward. You could do different things on it. This little sewing machine was just it was a straight stitch sewing machine, but you could go backwards on it. That's the only thing it would do. So I wanted one of those fancy sewing machines. So I was in Turflin Mall. That's where I bought it. And the man was showing me the sewing machines. It was a little cabinet machine, had its own table, folding, you know, what have you. And I told him, I said, what I've been using is the Featherweight Singer. And he said to me, don't ever get rid of that sewing machine. If you've got a daughter, which I did have, you save it for her. Well, I'm still saving that sewing machine. Right here it is. I don't think there's a sewing machine around that's worth more than this one. But I went from the second sewing machine. I wanted one that I was always having trouble with the stitches, having to take the sewing machine in to get the stitches right. So finally I found a Singer 2000. It took care of that for you. You didn't have to worry about those problems. That Singer 2000 cost me $1,000. Now, I was paying more than $10 a month on that one. It was a good sewing machine. But it reached the point that I was having more repairs on it than I was getting good use out of it. Still going back to the little Featherweight. Now, you probably want to know some of the things I made. Well, I've got, let's see what I can start with. Well, these things weren't all made by a sewing machine, but I'm going to show you a few things I've made through the years. Now, I hope you can see this picture. That's a flower garden quilt. It's actually called the flower basket. Now, my stitching, my stitching's not the best in the world, but the best I could do. I went to the International Quilt Show in Paducah, Kentucky one year. And oh man alive, the quilts, gorgeous, gorgeous. I could never ever come up to the standards like those quilts were made, but they're hanging on one wall was a quilt like this. I know the stitches were better, but the colors were not as pretty as mine. I felt rather proud to see that a quilt with this design was in the International Quilt Show that year. Now, I made actually I made 3 quilts. That's all I've ever made. I've made a couple of quilt tops. But I want to show you a few things that I have made. In fact, let's see, why won't this thing do something? Let's see what I get. I'm not having any luck here. I've done something wrong. Yeah, let's go back. Okay, let me show you one of the little things I made. I told you the story about this. This is my Alaskan Santa. Can you zoom that on your TV screen? Isn't he a beauty? He's actually wearing a silk shirt underneath that coat. And I love the little toys. Now, you don't just walk in a store and pick up these little toys. Whoops, I just lost my picture. I lost my picture because the batteries run down. And I just used it. Well, anyway, you got to see the quilt. Hanging on my window is the valance that made with my favorite fabric of all times. And now that I can't show you the picture of it on this little iPad, I'll show you a pillow. Do you recognize this pattern? This is your upholstery fabric. It's called the Old English Rose. It came, and I say they still make it, with the black background, the white background, and the one with the yellow background is just gorgeous. But this was my all-time favorite upholstery fabric. It's hanging on my window now. And then I made an extra pillow just for my couch. It comes in pretty handy. So that's one of the things I made because I could sew. I wanted to show you the picture of my granddaughter Molly when she was about 5 years old. Okay, that's when the American Girl doll became very popular. She and Jessica both got the doll the first year. Jessica's doll, I can't remember the name. It had blonde hair like she did. Molly's doll was named Molly. Had to have that one. What I loved about the Molly doll was that her story took place during World War II, the early 1940s. Well, I was a little 7-year-old girl at that time. So the story I could relate to because I remembered those days about the war and the men who had to go overseas and the little clothing and the table and chairs, dishes, everything that came with these dolls were from that time period. I actually had a teapot and a couple of other pieces of ceramic dishes, just like the one that the designer for Molly doll did, exactly the same design on the toys. The little table and chairs, little simple wooden table, straight chairs, I had one just like the one with the Molly doll. Now, one of the outfits that Molly wore was a gray flannel dress. It was double-breasted, had mother of pearl double-breasted button in the front, long sleeve, a little white piqué collar. Okay, I'm going to make that dress. I went out shopping. I hunted and I hunted. I like to never have found gray flannel to make that dress, but I finally did. Then I had to find the piqué. I thought piqué was a common fabric. It had been when I was growing up. I finally found a little white piqué and made the little round Peter Pan collar and the sleeves. Even had to search for the large mother of pearl buttons. I wanted Molly's dress to be just like the one in the American Girl. Molly had long dark hair, just like the doll. I've got a photograph of Molly in her gray flannel dress, cute as it can be, just like the one on the doll. That's one of the little projects that I did with my sewing skills. Now, when Jessica started the first grade, she needed a wardrobe. Back then, little girls wore dresses to school. Yeah, that was like 35 years plus. That's how long it's been. So I decided I was going to make her some school clothes. I got 2 or 3 patterns. I didn't need more than 2 or 3 patterns because you can rearrange. You can take the collar off, put the collar on, put long sleeves, short sleeves, whatever you want to do one pattern. So I had an armful of dresses for Jessica to start the first grade. And I don't know why I happened to make most of them that look like the little house on the prairie. Yeah. Even had one with those aprons that went over the dress, you know, buttoned in the back, protected the dress underneath. I had one like that. They were precious little clothes, and Jan still has that wardrobe packed away somewhere. So yes, I did sew. I don't sew anymore. I don't have any reason to sew anymore. Those were just some of the things that I made. I wish I had some examples for you, but I don't have. They're all either in photographs or I don't have them to show you. But I love to sew. I decorated my house by being able to sew. You see this little painting, barely can see this painting. That's one I picked up in a framing shop. Well, it wasn't really a framing shop. They made windows, cut glass, stuff like that. But they also sold frames. And this is a copy of an Old Master original. I was surprised when I was in New York City once. Went through the art museum, and those hallways are huge, real wide, and they had long benches down the middle where you can sit and view all of the master paintings on the walls. They are huge. But I noticed someone sitting there with an easel, paints and brushes, and they were sitting on that bench, and they were copying this huge master painting on the wall. I didn't even know they were allowed to do that, but I suppose they are. And I thought, oh my gosh, imagine how many copies there might be of these paintings out there somewhere. And someone might even be trying to pass them off as original. But I was fascinated with the fact that I was looking at the Renoir, Monet's, Van Gogh's, and someone was sitting there copying one of them. It's interesting, and it's very entertaining, and I'm telling you, it's a learning experience if you can go through one of those art museums. And the one painting that was my favorite was Joan of Arc. Full size, full size. It wasn't the kind of picture you probably have in your mind of Joan of Arc, because we know how she died. This Joan of Arc was the simple peasant lady wearing the bib, apron, ties in back over her dress, and she was barefoot. I couldn't keep my eyes off of her feet. They looked so real. Full-size painting. Yes, I'm sure that painting is still in the art museum in New York. If you're ever there, look for it. And the other one was, I don't know if it was Renoir or Monet. I think it was Monet. Whichever one had the lilies and the little bridge. And you couldn't get too close. You had the rope that held you back. They wouldn't let you get close to the wall. But I was up very close, and I thought, well, I can't tell anything about this picture. It just looked like splotches of things. And, you know, how in the world did they paint this? I stepped back about 10 feet at least, and I looked at that painting again. It came to life. The lilies on the water, the bridge, I could see everything so clear. But standing say as close as I am to you here, I couldn't tell what the painting was. So there again is fascinating aspect of art. What you see up close, what you see at a distance. And I was totally fascinated. And that will draw you to an artist quicker than anything when you see his method of painting. Now, I'm not a painter. No, unfortunately, I didn't acquire that talent. And no, how I wish I had, because I would love to be able to do watercolors. I don't know of anything else I want to tell you about sewing. I've even made tablecloth. Now I don't crochet and I don't do lace work, but I've made several nice tablecloths. You've seen some of them in my photographs. And of course, I can do something just so long, and then I get tired of it. I don't want to do that anymore. I made jewelry. I should have brought some of the jewelry out to show you. You've seen me wearing some of my earrings. This is not a pair I made, but I do often wear my own earrings and my own necklaces. That was the phase while I was living here. I got into jewelry making. It was fun, a lot of fun. But when I got into the shadow box, rhinestone shadow box making, let me get a picture for you. You stay right there. Watch. You can look at my dishes on the wall while I go get a picture so you can see. I'm on my way back. Now, what I want you to know is that most of the shadow boxes made with rhinestone jewelry has glass covers. You can open it up. That way you don't have any dust. You don't have to worry about your jewelry tarnishing. It's covered in glass. But this one is one, I bought the frame. Now it is not covered in glass, but it is on black velvet. Now I hope I can show it to you. These are parts of jewelry. See what you might call the flower pot? That's one large brooch. I'm going to come around and bring it closer. I want you to see it. You just create as you go. Let's see if I can get this right. I want you to see it up close. See that big brooch? Now look at all of those pieces. Some of them have been taken apart so that I have leaves on each side. See the earring near on each side of the flower pot. See the various leaves and the little blossom way up close. Okay, let's pull that back a little bit. I like this one. I've always loved that brooch. But I much prefer shadow boxes that have glass over them, so they have the protection. I did one for Jan out of enamel brooches. It was gorgeous. I have to say that myself. The brooches were all hers. She had a collection of them, being a collector of antique jewelry. So I did a heart. I don't usually do heart because for some reason, I don't like doing things in hearts. But these enameled, all different colors of brooches came together beautifully on black velvet and was in a shadow box frame with glass coverage. She had taken it down for some reason off the wall. I think she took it somewhere to show it to something. She may have brought it here. And when she started to hang it back on the wall, it fell, it hit the floor, and the frame fell apart. So she still got her heart shape with all those beautiful enameled pins, but they're not in a frame anymore. That's something she's got to repair now. That's enough for today. I think I've shown you everything. Here's my these are the parts to my Featherweight sewing machine. Yeah. Oh yeah, those parts were, woo! Oh my God, I never did learn how to use these parts. And here's these parts where you do the gathers and the little pleats. If I have to spend very much time learning how to do it, I ain't gonna do it. I'm not spending that much time learning. If I don't learn it on the second try, it's out the window it goes. I'll do something new and different. Yeah. This one's for the zipper foot. You get close to the edge with the zipper foot. These are my parts. Oh yeah. This is a binder for your handkerchief. Your handkerchief fold, you know, on the edges. You always wondered how they got that little handkerchief edging. That's what these are for. No, I didn't master those arts, so I just stuck to what I knew. And that's all you're going to see today. I thought I had something else to show you. One of these days I'll show you some of my other little tricks of the trade, whatever I could come up with that I could learn on my own. So take a look at my blouse, you know. $6, mind you. Feels good. I don't think it's ever been worn. That's what I like about it. And you ask yourself, why did someone bring a brand new blouse to Goodwill? Most likely because it didn't fit. And they needed the space in the closet. That's what I need, space in my closet. So, I think the next trip to Goodwill, I'm going to take out a few in case I find some I want to buy. I hope you've enjoyed this show. And I want you to take another good look at my little Featherweight sewing machine. Isn't she a beauty? Yes. Jan's waiting to get this. And I'm going to fix me something to eat. Today it's going to be chicken. Well, it was chicken yesterday too, so probably be chicken tomorrow. But you know, there are a lot of ways you can fix chicken. And I'll find a different way to do it tomorrow. Hope you've enjoyed my show, and thank you for watching.